The Lannisters have a strange habit in the history of Westeros. When kingdoms split, rival heirs appear, and great houses begin choosing sides, the lion usually ends up close to the person wearing the crown. During the Dance of the Dragons, House Lannister supports Aegon II, the king crowned in the capital. During the Blackfyre Rebellions, the Lannisters fight for the Targaryen kings against the challengers. During the Greyjoy Rebellion, Tywin marches with King Robert. During the War of the Five Kings, the family surrounds Joffrey, defends King's Landing, and turns a boy with a questionable claim into the most powerful king left standing. Even Robert's rebellion eventually ends with Tywin on the winning king's side. He simply waits until the winning king is obvious. This can make the Lannisters look like the political weather vane of Westeros. Find the crown, find the lion. Yet House Lannister has never been loyal to kings in the sentimental sense. Jaime kills one, Tywin betrays one, Cersei helps kill another and places her own children in his seat. Their attachment belongs to the institution around the king, the court, the offices, the marriages, the debts, and the legal authority that turns private wealth into power over the whole realm. The Lannisters choose the king because a functioning crown is the best machine ever created for converting Lannister gold into Lannister control. And when the existing king can no longer run that machine, they begin looking for the next one. If you enjoy these deeper looks into the political history behind Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire, subscribe. There is a great deal hiding behind the battles, especially when the people who seem loyal are really protecting an arrangement. House Lannister begins with a story about taking a castle without fighting for it. Lan the Clever supposedly tricks House Casterly out of Casterly Rock. The details change depending on who tells the tale. He slips through a hidden passage, sets members of the family against one another, fills the castle with vermin, or convinces the Casterlys that the rock is haunted. Every version preserves the same family fantasy. The first Lannister wins through nerve, patience, and manipulation. His descendants build an identity around golden lions, while the founder survives in memory because he understood that possession can be changed before the victim understands that a contest has begun. That story matters because Casterly Rock shapes the family living inside it. George R.R. Martin describes the rock as a mountain fortress with halls, galleries, mines, barracks, and chambers carved deep into the stone. It has never been taken. Its gold mines help make the Lannisters the richest dynasty in Westeros, and Lannisport gives them a major center of trade beside it. The Starks are tied to the north through memory, religion, and duty. The Greyjoys define themselves through conquest and the sea. The Baratheons repeatedly produce men who treat political conflict like a personal challenge. House Lannister sits inside a mountain full of gold. Its natural political instinct is preservation. That instinct appears long before the Iron Throne exists. The early Lannisters are first men rulers. When the Andals enter the Westerlands, the kings of the Rock initially fight them. Later Lannister rulers begin arranging marriages, exchanging wards, and bringing the newcomers into their political structure. An Andal knight, Joffrey Lyddon, eventually marries a Lannister daughter, takes the Lannister name, and continues the dynasty. The blood changes, the religion changes. The ruling family remains. That may be the oldest Lannister victory in the entire history. They survive a cultural invasion by absorbing the people carrying it. The name proves more important than purity. Casterly Rock continues under the same banner because the family understands that surrendering part of its identity can preserve the part that gives it power. Aegon's conquest gives them a more painful version of the same lesson. Loren Lannister is still king of the Rock when Aegon Targaryen arrives in Westeros. Loren joins Myrngardner, king of the Reach, and together they assemble around 55,000 men. Aegon has a much smaller army. In every ordinary military calculation, the two kings have chosen the stronger side. The calculation fails because Aegon has 3 dragons. At the Field of Fire, Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys unleash all 3 together. Thousands burn. King Myrn and his heirs die, ending House Gardener's rule of the Reach. Loren survives, is captured the following day, and bends the knee. He enters that battle as a king and leaves it as Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West. The title is smaller. The survival is enormous. House Gardener disappears. House Lannister loses a crown and keeps its land, wealth, vassals, and fortress. Aegon could have destroyed Loren's line and raised another Western family in its place. He chooses continuity, and Loren accepts it. The Lannisters learn that a crown can be surrendered while power remains. They also learn that challenging a new order after the decision has already been made can turn a reduced dynasty into an extinct one. From that moment, their relationship with kings becomes practical. The Iron Throne possesses legal supremacy. Casterly Rock possesses wealth, troops, and an extraordinary defensive position. Each power is safer when it recognizes the other. The Lannisters spend the first century of Targaryen rule mostly outside the center of royal politics. They resent it. The Valerians, Baratheons, Hightowers, Tullys, and Arryns enjoy closer relationships with the Dragon Kings. Casterly Rock remains rich and secure, yet its family has lost the ability to shape decisions at court. Lord Lyman Lannister responds with a piece of political behavior Tywin would have admired. During the struggle between Maegor the Cruel and his nephew Aegon the Uncrowned, Lyman shelters Aegon and Rhaena at Casterly Rock. He refuses to surrender them to Maegor. He also avoids openly marching for Aegon. When Aegon raises an army, Lyman's bastard son Tyler Hill joins him with 500 men from Lannisport, leaving Lyman enough distance to deny direct responsibility. Lyman places one hand on each possible future. If Aegon wins, Western men helped him. If Maegor wins, the Lord of Casterly Rock never formally rebelled. When Aegon dies and Maegor's reign later begins collapsing, Lyman waits until Jaehaerys declares himself. The great houses finally move together, the Lannisters join them, and Maegor dies abandoned in King's Landing. The Lannisters end up with the new king because they avoid sacrificing the house to either claim it too early. Lyman's behavior contains the full method in miniature: protect valuable people, preserve deniability, allow lesser relatives to test the risk, and declare openly when the balance is shifted. Jaehaerys sees through him. The king recognizes Lyman's ambition and repeatedly passes him over for royal office. This is an important part of the family pattern. Lannister support carries an expectation. They want proximity to the crown because proximity produces appointments, marriages, and influence. Loyalty without access has limited value to them. The Dance of the Dragons finally gives House Lannister that access. By the final years of Viserys I, the family has aligned itself with Alicent Hightower's Green faction. Jason Lannister rules Casterly Rock. His twin brother Tyland serves on the Small Council. The Lannisters and Hightowers share political interests, great western ports, and resentment toward the Velaryons, whose wealth and closeness to the royal family have given them a dominant place at court. When Viserys dies, the Greens crown Aegon II in King's Landing. Rhaenyra had been publicly named heir and has a serious legal claim, along with years of oaths sworn to her. The Lannisters still choose Aegon. The male inheritance argument helps them. The Great Council of 101 had favored Viserys over a claim descending through the female line, and the Lannisters had voted with the majority. Supporting Aegon protects a version of inheritance that secures male-led houses across Westeros from claims passing through elder daughters. Court position matters even more. Tyland is already inside the Green government. Jason's family has spent years tied to Alicent's faction. A victory for Rhaenyra would elevate the Velaryons and push the Lannisters back toward the edge of royal power. Aegon offers offices, access, and a king whose government already depends on Lannister competence. So the Lions march for the Crown King in King's Landing. This time, waiting and preservation cannot explain everything. Jason commits the Western Army, invades the Riverlands, and dies at the Red Fort. His host is later destroyed at the battle by the lakeshore. Dalton Greyjoy attacks the Westerlands for the Blacks and sacks Lannisport. The family suffers terribly for Aegon. Tyland goes even further. As Master of Coin, he divides the royal treasury and sends portions away from the capital. One part goes to the Iron Bank, another to Casterly Rock, and another to Old Town. The Greens retain enough money for bribes, gifts, and hired soldiers. When Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, she inherits a throne without the wealth needed to govern comfortably. Her torturers blind, mutilate, and geld Tyland. He still refuses to reveal where the gold is gone. This is genuine personal loyalty, shaped by Tyland's very strict understanding of his own oath. It is also the most extreme example of a Lannister treating money as the hidden battlefield beneath the visible war. Dragons determine who can seize a city. The treasury helps determine who can keep it. Rhaenyra's rule in King's Landing collapses under taxes, disorder, and public anger. Tyland did not cause every part of that collapse, though his removal of the treasury makes the crisis much worse. A Lannister with ledgers manages to injure a Dragon Queen after her soldiers have already won the capital. The ending of Tyland's story reveals something even more interesting. Aegon II dies. Rhaenyra's son becomes Aegon III. Tyland returns and serves the new boy as Hand of the King, even though Tyland once supported killing him to end Rhaenyra's line. The old war has ended. Aegon III is now the king. Tyland gives him capable and loyal service, works to hold the damaged realm together, and eventually dies during the winter fever after ordering King's Landing quarantined. One Lannister serves two opposing branches of a civil war without behaving like a cheap turncloak. He keeps his oath to Aegon II through torture. Once that king and his cause are dead, Tyland accepts the new settlement and serves the ruler who remains. His loyalty belongs to an oath while the oath has a living subject. Afterward, it belongs to the restoration of government. The Blackfyre rebellions make the family look even more consistently royalist. When Daemon Blackfyre rises against Daemon II, Lord Daemon Lannister remains loyal to the Targaryen king. Quentyn Ball defeats him outside Lannisport, so this is active service carrying an immediate cost. Decades later, Tywin Lannister dies fighting on the royal side during the Fourth Blackfyre Rebellion. The Blackfyres appeal to houses with grievances against the existing order. They offer a heroic warrior with the Conqueror's sword, a different argument about legitimacy, and the possibility of advancement for families unhappy with Daemon's court. House Lannister has little reason to gamble on that promise. The established crown already recognizes the Lannisters as lords of Casterly Rock and wardens of the West. Their position is ancient, wealthy, and nearly impossible to improve through rebellion. A Blackfyre victory could reward them, although it could also elevate rival houses whose support had been more essential. Loyal service protects what they already possess. This is the quiet logic behind Lannister royalism. Rebellion is attractive to people who believe the current arrangement undervalues them. The family holding Casterly Rock is already one of the richest and most powerful families alive. Disorder creates more possible losses than gains. Tywin Lannister understands that calculation better than anyone, right up until his pride becomes part of it. He spends years as Hand to Aerys II. He governs effectively while the king enjoys the credit. Aerys grows jealous, humiliates him, rejects Cersei as a bride for Rhaegar, and takes Jaime into the Kingsguard, depriving Tywin of his chosen heir. Tywin resigns and returns to Casterly Rock. When Robert's rebellion begins, Tywin has reasons to hate Aerys. He also has a son wearing the king's white cloak and no guarantee that Robert, Eddard, Jon Arryn, and Hussar Tully can defeat the royal army. Tywin stays out of the war. His neutrality preserves his army while both sides bleed. Rhaegar's death at the Trident settles the military question. Robert has defeated the Crown Prince. The royal cause is collapsing. Tywin finally marches with 12,000 men and reaches King's Landing while presenting himself as an ally of Aerys. Pycelle persuades the king to open the gates. Tywin sacks the city. Jaime kills Aerys before the wildfire plot can destroy King's Landing. Gregor Clegane and Amory Lorch murder Elia Martell and her children. Tywin presents their bodies to Robert as proof that House Lannister has crossed too far to return to the Targaryen side. He reaches the war late and pays for his place in the new order with an atrocity. Robert is not yet the crowned king when Tywin chooses him. By then, he is the only plausible king with an army capable of taking the realm. Tywin sides with the outcome a few days before the ceremony catches up. Cersei's marriage to Robert completes the move. House Lannister travels from royal outsider to royal family. The new king borrows heavily from Tywin. Jaime remains in the Kingsguard. Lannister relatives fill positions around the court. The dynasty loses no land in the transition from Targaryen to Baratheon and gains direct access to the throne. That is the Lannister method at its most successful and most horrifying. Their soldiers avoid the decisive battles of the rebellion. Their arrival determines what happens after those battles. Other houses win Robert his throne. Tywin makes sure the peace belongs partly to him. During the Greyjoy Rebellion, the choice is simple. Balon Greyjoy attacks the western coast and burns the Lannister fleet. Tywin joins Robert's royal campaign against the islands. The reigning king now protects Lannister territory, punishes a direct enemy, and confirms the value of the political order Tywin helped create. The War of the Five Kings brings the family so close to the crown that the old distinction between serving the king and owning the king nearly disappears. Joffrey wears the Baratheon name, carries Lannister blood, and is secretly Jaime's son. Cersei places him on the throne after Robert's death. Tywin becomes his hand. Tyrion rules in the capital on Tywin's behalf. Lannister soldiers invade the Riverlands and fight Robb Stark while King's Landing prepares for Stannis. From the outside, the family has once again chosen the sitting king. Inside the family, they have manufactured him. Joffrey's claim is the legal shield around Lannister survival. If Stannis becomes king, Cersei's children become living proof of treason and incest. Cersei and Jaime face execution. Tywin's entire political project collapses. Robb Stark threatens the family's military strength and captures Jaime, even though Robb seeks northern independence rather than the Iron Throne. Renly offers no safety either, because his victory would remove Joffrey and place the Tyrells at the center of court. Every road away from Joffrey leads toward Lannister ruin. Their commitment becomes absolute because the crown is now a family possession. They can issue commands in the king's name, label enemies traitors, distribute lands, arrange marriages, and define murder as royal justice. The Iron Throne gives legal language to a private family war. The Battle of the Blackwater is the decisive expression of that advantage. Tyrion prepares the city's defense. The wildfire destroys much of Stannis' fleet. Tywin arrives with the Tyrell army after negotiating the alliance created by Renly's death. Joffrey remains king because Lannister planning, Lannister money, and Tyrell numbers meet at the right moment. Tywin follows the victory by joining Joffrey to Margaery Tyrell. The crown becomes the center of a coalition broad enough to overwhelm the surviving enemies. Robb loses the Karstarks and Freys. The Red Wedding destroys his cause. Joffrey dies, Tommen replaces him, and the government continues under another child carrying the same useful surname. The individual king is replaceable. The arrangement must survive. That sentence explains why Tywin can dominate Joffrey, why Tyrion can send the king to bed, and why Keevan later tries to remove Cersei from power while still serving Tommen. Their royalism does not require admiration for the monarch. It requires a monarch whose seal can authorize the government they need. Kavan's final chapters in A Dance with Dragons show the strongest version of this idea. Cersei has damaged the alliance with the Tyrells, armed the faith, and filled the court with weak favorites. After her arrest, Kavan becomes Lord Regent. He begins repairing relations, appointing competent figures, and restoring stability around Tommen. Varys kills him because the repair is working. Varys wants the realm unstable for the arrival of Aegon, the young man presented as Rhaegar's surviving son. Kavan's competence could make Tommen's government difficult to overthrow. A child king with a disputed birth becomes dangerous once a disciplined Lannister turns his court back into a functioning institution. The assassination confirms the power of the family strategy. A king does not need to be impressive when the people surrounding him can make the crown effective. The television series eventually shows the strategy collapsing under Cersei. After Tommen dies, Cersei crowns herself queen. She has removed rivals and seized the throne directly. For a moment, this looks like the final form of Lannister ambition. The family no longer stands beside the monarch. A Lannister is the monarch. Her position is much weaker than Tywin's old position under Robert or Joffrey. She lacks a broad coalition, a respected succession, and a family united around her. Tyrion supports Daenerys. Jaime eventually rides north and leaves her. The Tyrell alliance has been destroyed. Dorne is hostile. The north is independent in practice. Daenerys has dragons and foreign armies. Cersei possesses the throne room while the political structure around it disappears. This is where the habit of choosing the king reaches its limit. A crown can multiply power that already has recognition, money, alliances, and a workable claim. It cannot create all of those things by itself. Cersei treats occupation as legitimacy and fear as government. Tywin understood that a victorious regime still needed marriages, debts, pardons, appointments, and other houses with reasons to keep it alive. Her alliance with Euron provides ships and temporary military help. It never gives her the stable realm the earlier Lannister system required. When Daenerys reaches King's Landing, Cersei has walls, soldiers, and the Golden Company. She has very few people outside the city whose future depends on her survival. The old Lannister instinct also fractures at the worst moment. Jaime chooses the living against the dead and rides north, before returning to Cersei at the end. Tyrion has already chosen Daenerys. The remaining Lannister leadership cannot agree on which ruler offers a future. Once the family stops choosing together, the crown stops protecting it. So do the Lannisters always take the side of the king? The history comes close enough for the pattern to matter. They support Aegon II, Daeron II, later Targaryen kings against Blackfyre claimants, Robert during the Greyjoy Rebellion, and Joffrey and Tommen during the War of the Five Kings. Tywin even serves Aegon III after fighting his mother. Again and again, House Lannister can be found defending the ruler recognized by the central government. The exceptions explain the pattern better than the examples. Loren fights Aegon because Loren is already a king defending his own crown. After defeat, he kneels quickly and preserves his house. Lyman hedges between Maegor and Aegon the Uncrowned, then supports Jaehaerys when Maegor is finished. Tywin abandons Aerys after the Trident, when Robert has become the next political order in everything except formal title. The Lannisters serve kings while kings can secure Lannister power. They abandon kings who have lost that ability. Their deepest loyalty belongs to continuity under favorable terms. Gold needs contracts. Mines need roads and ports. Loans need a government capable of repayment. A lord with vast holdings needs laws that make those holdings legitimate. The Iron Throne provides all of this. A strong royal court also gives ambitious Lannisters positions beyond the Westerlands. Hand of the King, Master of Coin, Master of Ships, Queen, Kingsguard, Regent, and Royal-in-Law. Other houses can gain from rebellion because they feel trapped below their proper place. The Lannisters usually begin near the top. Their safest victory is a restored crown that remembers who helped restore it. Casterly Rock allows them to pursue that victory patiently. It is difficult to attack, rich enough to sustain its own power, and distant from many eastern conflicts. Tywin can wait through most of Robert's rebellion because his seat is secure. Lyman can play both sides because Maegor cannot easily punish the Rock. The family often enters a national crisis with enough independent strength to delay commitment. That delay looks like cowardice to men who fight from the beginning. Sometimes it is cowardice. It is also strategy produced by geography. A house living in an exposed castle may need allies immediately. A house living inside a mountain can ask which ally will still exist next year. Their wealth creates the same patience. Armies require food, horses, equipment, and wages. Kings require loans. A Lannister force that remains intact becomes more valuable as everybody else's strength declines. Tywin arrives late at King's Landing with 12,000 fresh men. He enters the Blackwater Alliance after Stannis and Renly have already divided the Baratheon cause. The family repeatedly converts late commitment into a central place in the peace. There is a moral cost to this strategy, and Martin never lets us forget it. The sack of King's Landing murders civilians and children after the decisive battle has already been won. The Red Wedding ends a military problem by destroying guest right. The Riverlands are burned to answer Tyrion's capture and weaken political enemies. Lannister stability is often built by forcing ordinary people to absorb the violence the family avoided earlier. Their preference for the king also allows them to rename self-interest as law. Robb is called a rebel. Stannis is called a traitor. Rhaenyra becomes a usurper in the history accepted by later kings. Once the Lannister-backed claimant controls the capital, ravens, seals, rewards, and punishments all begin repeating his version of events. Victory decides which oath becomes loyalty and which becomes treason. House Lannister understands this more clearly than most. The family rarely fights for an abstract constitutional answer. It fights to make its preferred answer official. Aegon II is crowned quickly. Joffrey sits the throne before Stannis can publish his claim widely. Tommen replaces Joffrey without allowing the machinery to stop. Speed in the capital can turn a disputed child into the king everyone else must remove. That is why their association with kings feels so consistent. The Lannisters are often involved in producing the condition that later gets described as royal legitimacy. They locate the crown, finance it, defend it, marry it, and place it on a useful head. The most successful Lannisters still understand that the head and crown are separate. Tywin can serve Aegon III after Aegon II dies. Tywin can replace Aerys with Robert. Tommen can replace Joffrey. Their politics survive the individual ruler because the family cares about the settlement around him. Cersei loses that distinction. She wants the crown to confirm her personal supremacy. Joffrey shares the same hunger in a younger, crueler form. Both create enemies faster than their relatives can create alliances. They inherit a method based on patience and turn it into a demand for immediate obedience. Tywin also damages the method through brutality. Red Wedding wins a war and poisons the legitimacy of the peace. The murders of Elia and her children purchase Robert's acceptance while creating permanent hatred in Dorne. Fear protects the family for a time and ensures that many defeated enemies continue waiting for revenge. The Lannisters are excellent at surviving changes of king. Their difficulty lies in surviving the consequences of how they arrange those changes. In the books, that consequence is still unfolding. Tommen remains on the throne at the end of A Dance with Dragons, while Kevan lies dead and rival claimants gather strength. Aegon has landed in Westeros. Daenerys remains in Essos with dragons. Stannis continues his campaign in the north. Cersei has returned from her Walk of Atonement with much of her old anger intact. House Lannister is attached to the sitting king again. This time, the attachment may trap them. Tommen's claim depends on a lie that more of the realm now understands. The royal treasury is troubled. The family has lost Tywin, Keevan, and much of its earlier unity. Casterly Rock still stands, yet the government around the Boy King has become vulnerable. The Lions have spent centuries making sure they stand beside the king when battle begins. The final danger is that everyone else may arrive intending to destroy the kind of king they created. The pattern is therefore true in the way the best patterns in George R. R. Martin's world are true. It describes a political instinct, not an unbreakable rule. House Lannister favors the recognized monarch's central authority and the side capable of turning victory into law. Its members stay loyal when the throne protects their position. They wait when the outcome is uncertain. They switch when a new ruler has already become inevitable. Their history begins with Land the Clever taking a fortress through deception and continues through generations who understand that ruling depends on convincing everyone that possession has become permanent. The crown serves the same purpose as Casterly Rock. It makes power look settled. That is why the Lannisters keep moving toward it during war. The king gives their gold a voice, their violence a legal order, and their family ambitions the appearance of national interest. Standing beside him allows them to fight as the realm, even when they are fighting for themselves. And if that king falls, the oldest Lannister lesson returns. Keep the rock, keep the name, find the ruler who comes next.